So just to start, a little bit about me. I've been in the industry for over 30 years. I'm actually a nurse by my education. I spent the first 15 years in big pharma working in early development and had the privilege of bringing 2 drugs actually to market from first time in human or very early in their development, which was a great experience. And then I spent the last 15 years working as a compliance consultant throughout industry, really. I do a lot of work with companies in terms of inspection readiness, in oversight and management of their trial master file, and then I do a lot of clinical operations consulting. I am a member of the TMF Reference Model Steering Committee, and I have a tremendous amount of Part 11 experience because I've been around longer than Part 11. And so I do remember when Part 11 came into existence, and so we were working with some eClinical systems at the time. And so at that time, we had to make sure that all of our systems were validated, and I pretty much have been functioning in the eClinical space ever since. So I'd like to start by talking about the definition of a TMF. If you attend any of my training sessions, you'll know I always start with this because I think it's so important. So I think so many times people think of the TMF as just the things that clinical are managing and don't really think of the TMF as the whole story of what happened with the study. An inspection-ready, high-quality TMF is a set of records and documents that can stand alone and don't require additional explanation from the sponsor or the site staff. I actually have had experience where I had an FDA inspection and we only talked to the inspector one time throughout the entire inspection. Everything that she asked for, we were able to provide documentation of that came from the trial master file, and basically there was no reason for her to interview folks or talk to them because everything she was looking for, she was able to get from the TMF. Now I will tell you that's a pretty rare experience, and I don't know too many people that have had that experience, but I can tell you that there was a lot of energy that went into making sure that it was a very robust TMF. So the TMF is a collection of documentation that really allows you to look at the conduct of the trial, the integrity of the data, and then compliance of the study with GCP. And when I talk about the conduct of the trial, I'm really saying, was the trial conducted in alignment with the protocol, but not just the protocol, also the standards of the TMF plan, the study plans, all of the plans that support the study, because an inspector, when they inspect you, they don't just look at your documents or get you to answer their questions, but they look at your study plans and they understand what was your plan for how the study was going to manage, and then they look for evidence that you actually did that. So our current regulatory focus is really on having a well-defined, comprehensive TMF content list. And I'm not talking about a list of documents. I'm actually talking about all of the different types of documents. And it really should include all of the content that supports the study. And so we'll talk a little bit about what that should look like and how that's relevant to the QC process. We'll talk about a comprehensive TMF management process that's in place during and after the study, and it should have long-term archival as part of it. And we'll talk about making sure that the TMF is inspection ready at all times. So I want to talk about taking a risk-based approach to completeness of quality control or quality review of the TMF. But I also want, before I start, to talk just for a minute or two about the difference between QA and QC. I also do a session on auditing the TMF, right? So, and that's very much focused on the processes that we use to support the quality of our TMF, because that's really what an audit's about. It's about an audit. This presentation today is about how we do a quality check, a quality completeness, a quality oversight of our TMF to make sure that we have a TMF that's inspection ready, a TMF that's complete. Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference here. We won't be focusing so much on the processes for managing the TMF. We'll be focusing a lot on the process for doing QC. And one of the critical elements of completeness review of the TMF and QC oversight of the TMF is taking a risk-based approach. Now, let's talk a little bit about the who, the what, and the when of quality oversight. So who does quality oversight is really organizationally driven. But the person doing the quality oversight of the completeness of the TMF should not be the person who's responsible for filing the content in the TMF. And that's because we never QC our own work, right? So if we're uploading the record, yes, we should be making sure that we're uploading a high quality record. but there should be somebody else who's responsible for making sure that the record is a high-quality record and that the metadata is associated with it. Likewise, if you're uploading all the content to the TMF, you shouldn't be the one checking to make sure everything's there, because you really, if GCP says we don't have oversight of our own work, there has to be somebody independent of the work who's been looking at the TMF. What we look at is definitely risk-based, and when we do it is really throughout the life of the study. So we know that we can take a risk-based approach to quality management. We have guidance from industry from 2013 about a risk-based approach to monitoring. But I will assure you that this risk-based approach and this risk management approach goes well beyond 2013 and clinical monitoring. FDA recommends quality risk management across all of our trials.